this is something I had to kind of teach myself through, experiences and challenges. And here's the thing, especially as healthcare givers and nurses, and then as myself as a mother, I've kind of seen all these layers of this people-pleasing and self-sacrificing characteristics. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. So if that's you and you're like, wait, is she going to tell me I need to change everything? No. What I do want to point out is that when you feel like you're giving and giving and giving, and you have nothing left for yourself at the end of the day, which is things I hear a lot from my clients and from my friends, what's happened is you've given past your limit, right? And we all have different limits, and we all know once we get there. And our limits change almost every, in my opinion, they could change daily. My limit one day is different from my limit another day. But if you start giving past your limit, almost like if you had a half moon shape, right? And you got this like ticking, almost like a speedometer, right? So when you get to like, here's your limit, and you've give and give, and you love doing it, and people appreciate you. And then you get to this point and you start giving more, and you're past your limit now, you start getting bitter and resentful, and you start taking it out on maybe that person that asked you, or your family or your kids. But I'm going to jump off the bat and be really harsh in this conversation. It's nobody's fault for your lack of limits. If they didn't understand that your limit was right here and you kept giving, this is where we need to work with you on it, right? And with nurses and with moms, because a lot of us give way past that limit and wonder, why we're having a hard time. And right. And so that's kind of the biggest thing, is just recognizing that we each have a limit. And if you could almost understand that every day, like, here's my limit today. Well, I didn't sleep well last night. I didn't eat very well yesterday. So your limit's going to be maybe a little smaller than where it might have been had you gotten some of those nourishing things in your body. So yeah, just recognizing where that limit is, and then understanding before you take on something else, check in with your speedometer limit. Where are you?
That's good advice. And so what are some of the challenges that we may face when setting the boundaries, and how do we overcome them?
I think it really starts with, what is your definition of boundaries, right? And what words come up when you hear, what words and thoughts come up when you hear the word boundary? Because if I was going to take another poll on that, right? Or if you're just sitting there thinking of it, you can think quietly to yourself for a second here. The truth is, this is super non-scientific. This is no quote from any, evidence-based practice book. Emily's definition is, a boundary is what's okay and what's not okay with me. And again, that might change based on my season of life or my time of the month, whatever it may be, it might change. But ultimately, I need to say, am I okay right now? I'm not okay. So then what do I need to then be okay to then move on to the next step? So you really want to start with your feelings around the word or the act of boundaries. You also want to think about, well, one, because a lot of times what people might say is it sounds mean or harsh or selfish or like that type of thing, right? You also want to consider how you were brought up, not in a blame game, but in an awareness of, oh, my parents might not have practiced healthy boundaries, right? And it's, again, right, not in blame, because that gets us nowhere in life, but it just brings in the awareness of, maybe I wasn't taught the best skills that worked for me. That was me. Hence maybe even the book I wrote. But that was one where it's just like, those weren't boundaries that worked well with me, that I could understand them. So understanding that really helps as well. So again, kind of defining in that, maybe it's in that moment, maybe it's in that season, in that year, in a relationship, in a job, what's okay and what's not okay with me. And then how you start overcoming them. I mean, we can dive into a lot of like tips around that, but as Inka knows, like our first step is awareness, right? I mean, it's once we acknowledge it, we bring it into the conscious awareness. That's when we can start like diving into kind of more playing like investigator for yourself, right? Learning where you're overgiving and understanding that you actually have control over many of these choices, no matter how hard they are, no matter how much fear is on the other side of that, right? You do have control over those next choices. And so, I mean, I work a lot with healthcare givers, and a lot of them, There's just in general, some people get to a point in their life where they're saying, I'm not sure this is the right thing for me, right? So I'll leave it that general. And it's like, well, let's dive into it. Where is it filling you up and where is it draining your energy? And where can we have conversations around that so you can understand, I guess, how to maybe either ask for more things that fill you up or take less of the things that drain your energy or switch gears or whatever it may be. But it does, I mean, it starts slow, especially if someone's having a hard time with, I'm not comfortable doing this. I've never done it before and I'm X years old, right? So starting slow, I'll give a tidbit at the end too, but one way is slowing down your yes response. That's like one of the best ways I could start to help people today is just like, if in a non-emergent email, text, request, ask for help. If you're not okay, then slow down your yes response to any of those. If you are okay and you're like, oh man, I can't wait to do this major project at work. Yeah, I can't. Thank you so much for asking me. Then sure, if it aligns with you. But if you're like, I'm not going to be able to give that project the time and energy it needs, but I'm saying yes because I feel bad. I'm saying yes because I want my boss to think I can do it, or I don't want them to think I can't. The one of the best ways I could tell you right now, especially in the nursing profession, is slow down your yes, check in with yourself first and be like, is this really something I could take on right now? Or am I trying to people please or not look bad or not disappoint someone? Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And say we recognize, okay, I'm going to give boundaries here, here, and here. And this is, you said it could be very uncomfortable for that person at first. And also, I was thinking for the people that we're setting the boundaries with, they might be kind of surprised by it, right? So how, do you have any particular strategies we can use to deal with pushback or resistance from others when we try to set these boundaries or try to say no when we in the past have said yes?
I think it really comes down to, using your heart when you're having these conversations. Because remember, it's probably harder for you to say no than for them to hear it, right? You're the one that's uncomfortable. When someone asks a question, they should be open to receiving any of the answers, right? They should not just assume, right? So if they ask, this is like when I'm with my toddlers, with my kids. If I say, do you want this or this? I'm okay with either answer, right? Or if I ask them, hey, do you want to go to bed now? And they say no. Well, I shouldn't have asked if I didn't want the answer, right? So I think it's important to remember why you need this boundary set in the first place and to use your heart. And by saying things like, the truth is the boundary itself is not personal. We are afraid of that person taking it personally by us saying no. We're also afraid of what people will think, especially I'm still a people pleaser. I'm not gonna, in my book, I talk about I'm a recovering people pleaser, but I'm even gonna scratch that. I'm a people pleaser, but now I know my limit where it's not healthy for me to give anymore in that space. And I think that's the big strategy. When you're getting the pushback from others, remember that this boundary is a form of self-respect and it's not meant to get defensive or an attack. So, for example, if someone said, hey, Carly, I need you to, I'm trying to think, can you, I like to use this major project at work because I just feel like we always think, right? Can you do this major project at work? It's like, if someone's asking you, can you do this major project at work? And you're like, oh my God, my personal life is this. All these crazy things are happening. This is not the right timing for me. And instead you say, listen, thank you for thinking of me. It really means a lot that you're choosing me and that I was the top of your mind for this project. Like I said before, I'm not going to be able to give it the energy that it needs right now. And I know there's other people that might be thinking about stepping into this role. I'd be happy to be a mentor or be on the committee, but thank you for thinking of me to lead the project. I'm gonna ask to sit this one out, right? And think about how freeing that is. It's the same as if a friend says, hey, do you want to go out to dinner? And you say, oh, not this week, but maybe next week, but you really didn't mean it. Maybe this is a toxic friend you're trying to cut ties with, right? that's hard too, which I'm not going to get into that part, but like, it is tough because you really shouldn't say things you don't mean to, right? So
Right.
the uncomfortable conversation with a friend might be, we got to have an uncomfortable conversation, because in order for me to ever want to go to dinner with you, I've got to talk to you about these things that are bothering me. And I think that's kind of a tricky thing too. So understanding when you're coming from a place of heart and self-respect and self-worth, the boundary is not meant to be personal. If the other person is taking it personally, it's still not your fault. And I think if you just keep coming back to, this is where I'm at right now, and this is what I need, and unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to take that on or be able to help you out next week with your kids or whatever it may be. And I think just honesty is probably what is the best.
Right. Yeah, like a weight off your shoulders. Yes. So can you share some real life like success stories of mothers that you work with or nurses who kind of transform their lives by creating all these healthy boundaries for themselves?
Yeah, I mean, I think for one, I mean, it kind of leads into something else, but there was this one mom I was coaching, because I'm just going to tail on this other part of the conversation with how sometimes when you're in these sacrificial and people pleasing roles, you have a hard time receiving or asking and receiving help. And she had just had her third kid and she does everything in the house, and same thing. I give and give and give, I have nothing time, no energy left for myself. But she was afraid to ask for help from her in-laws for fear of, what will they think, I can't do it, right? Yet they were on the other side being like, I want to see my grandkids more. I wish you would pick us for childcare. I want this more. And so we challenged her with finding a time that she felt comfortable where she didn't feel guilty. So she picked 1 hour to go grocery shopping by herself, something that she thought she could be okay with, that maybe she wouldn't think they would judge them. They loved it. She loved it. They asked for more time. She basically came around to, we talked maybe a few weeks later, she has regularly scheduled date nights now with her husband. And the in-laws love it. And now they're even like taking the kids. So another example I wanted to jump into was the slowing down, the yes response. I've worked with a lot of nursing leaders that had one with boundaries with time. A lot of nursing leaders out there, and whoever's listening, you know what I'm talking about, because I used to do it too. Sometimes you're up until 11 o'clock sending emails to your team or something that you forgot to do, or you're, on vacation, but not. And so what happens is now your team thinks that they need to do that too. And I've worked with a lot of leaders that say, well, I don't want my team to I don't want them to think I expect that. And I said, well, you have to model a different behavior then, because they're going to think they always have to respond to you so quickly and at midnight and at this hour in the morning. So, we talk about really slowing down that response for the non-emergent thing, even turning off like some notifications, like if payroll's always a big thing where leaders are like, got to get it done, and they keep getting interrupted, and I don't want to screw up someone's, paychecks, and has to be done at a certain time, and then they get interrupted 5 times. It's like, well, then maybe the boundary there is going to a different location where people can't like physically find you, nailing it down, turning off notifications except for like other emergencies, and just getting the project done. A lot of people say multitasking is really an unproductive thing, which I beg to differ. I think as a mom and as a nurse, we could do like 2 things at once, right? But when you
we're pretty good at that.
Pretty good at that, right?
Yeah.
But really kind of slowing down that response time. And some people would ask me then, well, I don't want to forget, I respond quickly because it's just a quick little task and I can get it done very easily. Well, there was another example where, gosh, I used to have nurses that would come up to me when I was in the educator and CNS role, and they would say, Emily, where's the policy on this? Which I'm sure all hospitals are the same. It's basically impossible to find policies. Is it not? Like,
why is that a thing? Because it is.
Like, they keep changing where they're located. They change the names. I could barely find it as an educator. I get it's a struggle, but I've taught the staff over and over again. And I'll never forget, this was me slowing down my response. She said, Emily, when you get a chance. And I just remember reading that part of the email going, what if I didn't have a chance today? What if I didn't have a chance for a few hours? So that I thought to myself, I'm not going to stop what I'm doing because that does not sound, and plus I know she knows how to find it if she took the time. But what happened was I didn't respond that day. I walked up to her before I left and I said, did you end up finding it? Otherwise I'll help you before I leave work today. And she goes, oh yeah, no, I got it. Because here's the thing. The other thing, you guys, is that if they don't, let me think about how I want to put this. If they don't get a yes from you, they will find it from someone else. Okay, so if you can't take it on, I promise you, if they need something and people have a hard time being patient and waiting, they will find a yes somewhere else. Okay, so that person probably waited all of 20 minutes before she went to go find the policy somewhere else because I was so quick to respond. And that day I chose to start weaning myself from that.
That's great. And nurses and mothers so focused on everybody else's needs generally. So do you have any tools or suggestions to help your clients look inward and focus on their own needs? And then how do we make decisions on like where and who to set boundaries with and like what actions should we take to accomplish this?
Yeah, really, like we talked about, the biggest thing is awareness.
Yes.
The awareness of your lack of boundaries. So first go back to where, like maybe everyone on the call is sitting here like, okay, where do I need to start? Where do I need to start practicing? Find something that if you know right now that there's something that is really bothering you or weighing heavy on you, that's probably where a good place to maybe start thinking about diving more into that awareness. Well, why have I allowed this to happen? Is this something that I have allowed that now I have control over and I need to have maybe an uncomfortable conversation to fix this? Again, remembering what's okay and what's not okay. A perfect example is even with my spouse. We have made a decision and an agreement that says it's not personal unless it's personal. So if I snap at you, it's not about you, unless I say, you did this to me, right? Because we all have our bad days. And so, it's looking in that way. Like that's one tool that I like is boundaries are not meant to be personal. Remember that it's that form of your self-responsibility. So what do I need right now? Like, this is what I literally say this to myself, Emily, like, I'm not okay right now. And then I like pause for a split second. I'm like, what do I need? Am I tired? Am I hungry? Am I the basics first? Right. And how do I fix that before I go be around my children again or that type of thing? Remember that you get to define these boundaries. You get to decide them. And other actions though, is honestly start talking to or surrounding yourself or being around people that set boundaries, even if you think that they are selfish with it, but maybe pick their brain a little bit about their outlook on them, because I think that's helpful. I actually live with the master of setting boundaries. I married him. So I don't think that's by coincidence at all. And it's been such a great lesson for me because, he's one of these people that just like, if I complain about something or vent about something, he looks at me and he says, well, what are you going to do about it? You have control and you have a choice. And maybe that's not quite related to boundaries, but it's around the same aspect of if I'm not okay and I haven't told him or communicated something. I mean, again, right? Some days are good and some days are not great, where we come home from work and I'm like, I'm managing at about a 20% right now. Like I'm not doing so great today. And I don't know why. And maybe I just need some inward reflection, but I'm not okay right now. Right. So like having some communication that even if it's a little vulnerable and a little tough can really go a long way, especially with people that you love.
Your 20% that you just said reminded me of this thing I heard. And, you always hear marriage is 50-50, 50-50, but how could that be possible every day? Some days I'm at a 10 because I'm just struggling. So if I could just communicate that with my husband, I'm at a 10 today. Do you think you could be more than a 50 today? I think that could go a long way.
And I think it's beautiful, and it's giving the other person the opportunity to say, well, this is right. Like, this is where I'm at today. there are some days we're both not good. And we're just like what? We might have seen the same thing today, because I actually saw that on Facebook too. That's so funny, or somewhere. But I've been thinking, my husband and I, and again, and this might not be for everybody, but like, when you have partnerships, you want to think about what does that look like and mean too. So especially if boundaries and relationships, I won't go into that because that's can be a really sensitive topic, but remember that no one else is responsible for your lack of communication or your lack of boundaries. So if something's not okay, maybe things have been going great for many years, whether it's with work, a spouse, a part, whoever, and then all of a sudden at this age, on August 17th, right at this date and age, you're like, this isn't okay with me anymore. And I mean, but I talk to a lot of people, even in nursing, like, I think I want to pivot. I think it's time for growth. I think it's time to step back, right? It's those little nudges in our body only really, I think, get stronger the more we don't entertain them, right? If you get this little nudge and you're like, I don't know why I'm getting this nudge, I should probably look into it, right? You don't have to do anything quickly, but usually that nudge gets a little deeper if that's really something that you're meant to be doing. And that can be really hard too.
Yeah, and a lot of what you're saying is reminding me also of like being mindful. And I feel like growing up, when someone was like, oh, be mindful of other people, but maybe we should be mindful of ourselves too. And, just have that as a thought, and that would help. So so what are some potential consequences of neglecting personal boundaries, say over a long period of time?
Well, this is where we're going to come back to that word burnout. I mean, how many people are burned out, right? It's like we're burned out from the word burnout. So
right.
What's going to happen? Burnout, overwhelm, anxiety. And then when you peel that onion back even deeper, somewhere in there, I know this is going to be harsh, but I'm going to say it anyway. Somewhere in there is a lack of valuing yourself, or the I'm not good enough, or I don't deserve this, or my self-worth. Somewhere deeper in that is I'm guessing some of those fears. And I'm guessing based on people I've been coaching in the last year, which are primarily healthcare givers and moms. And it comes back to, well, this is just what I thought I should do. Okay, well, you can rewrite that story tomorrow. And it doesn't have to be mean and harsh. It can literally just be, this is how it's been. I see we've been working this way for this long, but it's time for something else. And I heard a quote, and I tried to quote the right person, and she said it's not her quote. So we're trying to figure out where this quote comes from. But maybe you can have, well, I'll at least get this little block thing that I have. But it says, I still remember the days I prayed for the things I have now. And the quote that I love to refer to without giving the person credit is essentially that feeling of overwhelm is the abundance of what we once wished for. And I think that's so interesting. So this is the kind of joke I make when I give this talk to healthcare people. I say, now let's say you went from like a bedside role to a kind of like a salary role, right? So now you're in this, when I went from bedside nurse to an educator, and I got my first email with my educator, position. And I was like, oh my gosh, I got an email. Like somebody wrote me an email. Like it was like, I know that sounds so like dorky now, but I'm like, I'm so important. Granted, now I'm aging myself because emails were around back then, but like we didn't use them that much. Or it's like, oh, someone put a meeting invite on my calendar. Like I have a meeting tomorrow at 9:00. Like it was, and then right, the abundance of what you once wished for. It's like that was day one. And then come, I don't know, day 20, 30, a few years into it, you're like, if they put one more meeting on my calendar, I'm going to hurt somebody, right? Stop sending me emails, right? So I think about it's the same with kids too. Like there's times my husband's like, remember when we didn't have this and you prayed for it? I'm like, yep. I prayed for those tantrums. Yes, I did. And I actually did, which is really, I had a friend who I'll never remember being single and childless and prayed for it and prayed for it and prayed for it. In the same breath, she was complaining about something, kids. She was a mom. She had, I think, like a 10-year-old at the time, how hard it was, how challenging. And I remember sitting there like a cloud, like a rainbow cloud over me going, I can't wait to have a tantrum. Not even joking. I said it. I can't wait to have challenges with kids. And now I'm just like, I definitely asked for that one, right?
But that puts a positive spin on it, and I love that. Thank you. So speaking of burnout, like you said, also self-care has been a term used now for years. I'm sure many of the nurses here have either read something or have someone tell them to practice self-care. But however, we're seeing that many have a misperception of how to utilize self-care and what it really means. So can you dive a little deeper into that?
Yes, I love diving deeper into this because I think it's so essential. And I want to start with, again, what are your feelings around the word self-care? Because you want to dive into that first. So think about that first, write it down. A lot of the things I hear are the same things like boundaries, selfish, or a luxury, well, not the same words as boundaries, but self-care, they might have grown up in a family where self-care was selfish. Like that was me. We take care of others before ourselves. That's just what you do. My mom said it all the time. It's just what you do. Oh, and I didn't even mention, my mom was a nurse and my dad was a doctor. So
Oh, no way.
we got some people pleasing in this family for sure. But the whole time, even when I was a kid, it was so weird. I can't remember exactly what age, but I was like, but wait a minute. Aren't we in the boat too? Like how they say, put your oxygen mask on before helping others. Like I remember being a kid being like, well, yeah, but I mean, we have to like take care of ourselves too. I knew back then I knew back then that self-care meant taking care of yourself. But then what happened is it became this like, and not that there's anything wrong with any of these things, but it became like, here's your top 10 ways to do self-care. Read a book, journal, meditate, take a hot bath, get a massage, right? All these things that I'm like, well, that sounds nice. But to me, that's like a special treat, right? That's like a luxury, or like get a, massage or a pedicure. I'm like, that's cool for them. That didn't fit for me either. So I was trying to rewrite that feeling. Then I became a mom, and self-care was like one more chore on my to-do list. I'm like, if I hear the word self-care, and I did read an article, I wish I had that, I will find it, but it said, does self-care feel like a chore? And I was like, heck yeah, it does. Who has time for this stuff? Because I was thinking, read a book, meditate, yoga, all the beautiful things, which people should do those things. It will totally help you. But at the time I was like, oh my gosh, it just sounds like one more thing to do. So think about your feelings around the word. See if you can scratch out the word every time you hear it. See if you can scratch out the word and replace it with taking care of myself. And then, since we're nurses on this call, I want you to treat it like the pain scale. So you guys know the pain scale, 0 to 10, right? And the definition of pain is whatever the patient says it is. I want you to think about that with self-care / taking care of yourself. It's whatever you need it to be in that moment. So there are times where my form of self-care is taking 2 deep breaths before I come downstairs in the morning when my kids are nuts, right? Like they're like asking me a million questions. I'm like, or let's say they're both asking me a million questions. I'm like, instead of yelling, I'm like, I'm going to take my deep breaths. That's a form of my self-care in that moment. Another form is setting the boundary of mom needs her coffee before you ask me another question. Thank you. Or maybe the self-care is, I don't need to watch another TV show tonight. I've been tired all week. As much as I love this favorite TV show, we're going to postpone it a night, right? Maybe it's communicating with my partner differently about things I need. So self-care, you get to define it. So start by asking yourself, like, what do I need? How can I get the tiniest bit of that? Maybe it's, and maybe it's bigger than that. Maybe people are like, oh, I want to exercise or I want to do this. Start small. If you're just learning how to start relearning how to take care of yourself, start with little small actions consistently over time. You'll prove to yourself that you're worthy, and it's a form of self-respect.
Yeah, and I think if we learn how to set better boundaries too, maybe we'll have, better, more time, better organization, and we'll feel like these self-care things aren't like, something to scratch off a checklist too. So they both go together, it sounds like. So as a society, how can we promote a culture of self-care and respect for boundaries?
I think it really comes down to, I think, well, my nurse coach who was in your program, probably at the beginning, she really taught me how to use your heart versus your head. And so as a society, I feel like as uncomfortable as things may be, right, the only way to break cycles or to change the narrative or to change the story for you is to go into your heart space, because that's never going to be wrong. Even if someone doesn't like it. There's another quote I heard that was basically like, my duty and responsibility to disappoint as many people possible to never disappoint myself. Right. I think that was like Glennon Doyle, maybe. But when I first heard that, I was like, oh, that hurts. Why would I choose to disappoint people? But I read it wrong. I read it with a people-pleasing mindset first, instead of, oh, what she's saying is like, not that it's not selfish to put yourself first, but in order for you to serve others, right, you have to add something into your cup. You cannot serve on those empty cups. And I know many of you are doing it all the time, right? We're serving from the empty cups all the time, when all we need, sometimes we just need like the littlest amount of fuel to add, and then we've got a little bit more to give. Again, seeing like as a culture of self-care and like respecting yourself with boundaries is having those communications, like what is the big picture here? A lot of times people say their biggest barriers are time, energy, and money, which they are. But I'm going to challenge you with probably the biggest one is your own mindset. Because if you really looked and dove deeper, right? If you worked with someone or dove deeper, and you looked at your time, energy, and money, right? Whatever it may be, I can't do that because of this, and I can't do that because of that. It's probably your own mental state of feeding yourself with, you probably can't do it anyway, right? And so changing that mindset into, well, if I say that this is the number one most important thing for me, but yet I'm spending money here or energy here or time here, well, what is that telling your ego and your self-esteem, right? So you know that this is the thing that's going to make you feel better, but no, I'm going to put external conditions on it or make excuses towards it. It's hard, right? None of this is easy, like, right? This takes a lot of practice, but it can start with little tiny action steps to show yourself that you're worth whatever these things are that you need.
That was great. I love that. I really needed to hear that. That's wonderful. So we ask everybody this question at kind of for the last question of the webinar. What is your dream or vision for the future of nursing?
I think that, well, one, I hope that the healthcare system really starts valuing and appreciating this profession more and more. I think things have shifted in the last, I'm going to even say 10 years, because I've seen a big shift, and I hope they come back. And then I also hope that nurses really learn that they are important too. They need to take care of themselves and advocate for themselves and really be the CEO of your license. If something's not right, it's your license that's on the table, right? And I think that the more you speak up about it, as scary as it may be, you're protecting yourself, your heart, and your soul. And that's what I hope for the future of nurses, is that they realize how beautiful this profession really is and can be, and all the avenues you can take, right? You should never, I'm just throwing this out there. This is how I would teach when I was an educator. I'm like, you should never be unhappy in your nursing job, because it's a nursing profession and there's so many avenues. So if something's not lighting you up anymore, you might not be the right person for that job. And somebody else is probably begging for it, like waiting for it, right? So if it's not lighting you up, find something that is, because this profession has a lot of opportunities in it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So many options, so many opportunities. That's beautiful. Thank you. So I want to invite Lisa back and see if we can get these poll questions going.
Hello. That was a wonderful, wonderful discussion. Thank you. All right. So our first poll question, friends, here we go. We'll give you a few minutes if everyone just wants to go in. And it's all anonymous, so we won't be calling anyone by name. All right, one more minute. It's kind of cheating because I get to see all the answers. All right,
surprise for
I
us.
will, yeah, exactly. Surprises are always good. I will end this poll and share the results. So it looks like, yeah, 56%. So do schedule time for self-care.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, well, one, scheduling it, I think is a beautiful practice, right?
Mhm.
Because that means you are making it that priority. And if you're not there yet, it's okay. You don't have to schedule it yet, but just recognize that like every little piece that you're doing, like maybe it's a 1 extra minute hot shower to just like take deep breaths in, right? It's ways that you're showing your body that like you matter and you're important. And these things that you do for yourself are helping you.
Perfect. And before we go on to the next full question, it kind of lands with one of the questions that was asked, like, what would be some examples of self-care practices that would cost really like little to no money?
I mean, truthfully, I think it really just, it does depend on the person. So one is if you're going to do like reflection as a self-care practice, right? It could be meditation type reflection that doesn't cost any money. There's free apps out there. Journaling, just writing down your thoughts. Sometimes just by getting them out, even if they're bad. I used to have a journal that was like my bad journal, my bad thought journal. And I would like write all this like crazy stuff, you know, but I'm like, oh my God, it felt so good to get out. Because I'm like such a nice person, but sometimes I just want to write some not so nice things, you know, just like get it out of my brain. So those types of things, I mean, even just, well, I can't say like nourishing food because with inflation, it just feels like that's going to be costing money.
So
But
much.
it's maybe the choices around that that really don't cost a lot of money. Even exercise doesn't cost money. There are so many things, ways you can move your body that feels good to you. Now, obviously, you know, Lisa, you know that sometimes people just need to get up in the morning and maybe stretch, and maybe going to the gym is just like, oh my gosh, that's so overwhelming to even think about. Well, then don't think about it. It doesn't matter if someone else tells you this is what you should be doing. If you're like, maybe if I just get up and move and stretch and like dance or whatever it may be, there's lots of ways where sometimes we think it's supposed to be one way and we've been tied to that idea. Try to be open and flexible to a different way of thinking about something too.
I love that. So I was introduced to yoga in nursing school because all of my friends were going to the gym, and I've never been a gym person. And I went just because everybody was going. And I just remember looking at the sign and, oh, there's a yoga class that starts. And so I went in and it shifted my entire like life. And it took me on a journey that I never in that moment thought it would. So I like that, how you just give it a chance. All right. Where are we here? Okay, let's launch the next one. This is about boundaries. And it's a two-part question. Oh, it's actually a one part. I apologize for that. I didn't fill out the second part. I was able to put this in a one question. So, do you find it difficult setting boundaries? All right, and we'll just give it about 15 more seconds. All right, share the results. Yeah, 75% find it difficult setting boundaries.
And I will admit too, I might be able to talk about it here very easily. It's still difficult for me and I'm still working on it. So I hope that that helps people too. Like this is not, it's not like once you learn it, you're like, yeah, I'm the expert. I mean, maybe my husband was, but it's still a work in progress. And there's days I have overcommitted without realizing it. And it's like, okay, then what do I have to do tomorrow or the next day? Because today is already committed. I won't go back on a commitment. Right. And I mean, unless it was like really sick, but because I feel bad and I made the commitment. But then what can I do tomorrow or the next day? What can I shift around or move around and say, listen, it's just not the best day for me. And it won't be the right timing then. So, hopefully maybe you've learned some tangible kind of tools. If like boundaries sound scary, then maybe like the slowing down your yes, or even writing down like what lights you up versus what drains your energy. So maybe that's in your job, maybe that's at home, maybe that's as a parent, whatever it may be. And maybe no one has to see this list, but then how can you get more of the things that light you up and a little less of the other stuff? There was another example I was thinking about at work with someone I was coaching, and she just went up to their boss. I said, well, have you told your boss the things you love and the things that you wish you had less of? And no, she went and told him, and no, well, I almost said a bad word just because it just almost came out, but I was gonna say, no crap. She went and talked to her boss, and he said, actually, so-and-so just came to my office and wanted basically more of the things she wanted less of. And he was able to kind of move it around. Now, to me, that's like serendipitous, right? It's not a coincidence that within the same week. But had she not been a little bit bold to just say, this is what I love, there was somebody out there that loved the spreadsheets and the admin stuff. And they were like, give me more of that, give me less teaching. And he's like, well, why can't we do this? We can do this. And like, boom, 2 wins in the same week, right? Like, so you just never know what's on the other side of asking the question. And you guys know this too, but like the answer is always no if you don't ask something too.
Thank you. I love that slowing down the yes. I may borrow that. And a question here, kind of coming from the nurse coaching seat. How do you navigate working with a client when you find that their root cause of not setting boundaries, or maybe their low self-esteem, stems from childhood experiences? Like, how do you navigate that imprint, helping your client move through?
Yeah. I mean, that's a personal one for me. And that's a lot of the clients. There's things that we really do try to go back to the first memory around that. When's the first time you remember feeling that way? And then we really try to dive deeper. What happened? What were the conversations around it? Even for myself. And here's just like it might seem like an easy example for people. For me, it was really tough, but how do I put this? I mean, my brother was really good at school, like really book smart. I mean, he basically could read something and, get straight A's and all that. And I struggled to get similar grades. Like it was such a challenge for me. So long story short, I did bad on one test one time. And my parents were actually really great about this one. They were like, maybe you're just not a good test taker. It's not a big deal. But the words, maybe you're just not a good test taker, when your brother was perfect at it, was like, and I'm a perfectionist. So it's like, wait a minute, I'm not good enough like him. So for like decades, I put in, and then I decided to say, I'm not a good test taker, right? So I did this. They didn't do it. I don't blame my parents for this at all. But I get right before the nursing board exam, I had such anxiety that I caused a stress ulcer, had to get on medication just to take the exam because I was so scared that I would fail. And I knew I was meant to be a nurse. And I'm like, well, if I fail this, I'm not meant to be a nurse. Like it was all this baloney in my head. And so I think so that was part of my story, but basically what it really came down to was it happened one time. I did not fail a test or do bad on a test, maybe did bad, but like I didn't almost fail a test ever again. And it was like, I'm going to say I made up a story that became a life story of mine up until I was like 25, 30 years old almost. And it's like, wait a minute, I don't know what was true and what was like, now I can go back and go, what was really factual versus the story I filled in there. And where did I lose control over the choices I had? I could have made the decision and said, okay, maybe I'm not that great of a tester here because I have a lot of anxiety. Well, then who could I have worked with on that versus the actual material? Maybe it was hiring a tutor. Like, where could I have gotten the help from that too? So I think it is diving deeper. I think it is going back to those spots and trying to work with people. And some people need more professional help in those ways. So I never like to say that, I'm going to be able to help them get through some of those things. Sometimes it brings up very sensitive issues, but really working at diving into that. And then how do you want to design your life as of this moment now? So after you've reflected on all that, what do you want it to look like? And like I said, I mean, how can you get how can you start edging your way towards that life? And I mean, really, one of my mentors tells me, what does she say? Like, there are pieces of you that can't come. Like, if you're striving to be this next version of yourself, there are pieces of you that are not going to be able to come. And for me, it's a lot of the self-doubt can't come with me because that version of Emily over there is like super confident and like, whatever. Parts of me have to, well, she has like a grievance around it. Parts of you have to die to be able to move on into this kind of like bloom into this new flower. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I look at it like you got to shed layers, right? As we, we have a lot of protective layers, whether it's because of imprints or some. And as we age or go through different experiences, that's when we start to notice, like, why is this triggering me? And that curiosity as a nurse coach, I encourage my students as well, like, get to the root cause. Where did it start? Like, try and, and like you said, Emily, like, we might, it might be something beyond our scope, but it's shedding those layers. All right, final poll question around asking for help. All right, we'll give about 15 more seconds. Perfect. All right, I will share the results, and thank you everyone for participating.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's like the same numbers, 75% and 25%. Find it, those were the same and like results for the setting boundaries too.
I have an example of like the receiving. One of my mentors tells me, when you don't receive help from someone else, it robs them of joy. I think we kind of talked about that a little bit earlier, right? Because when someone has something to give and that person's struggling and not because they can't do it, it's just a tough season or tough moment. It really, like, you wonder, you're like, well, what does that say about me then? Right? Like, if they're not receiving of this help. And so I've been challenged with, when someone offers, you find something. And I'm at this point now where I'm like, all right, I got to find something. Like, this one lady was willing to fly in for, this event I'm going to do. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to have her do, but now I feel like I have to come up with something because she's willing to do this. Like, so it's hard, but it can be such a beautiful act for both people. And trust me, like, you're going to be more willing to do that when you have more to give. You'll be in that season. And, one of the biggest ones I know, a lot of the moms out there in the newborn phase, we all know you can do it. We all know you can do it, but you don't have to do it alone. And there's more than enough, I don't know if there's more than enough people, but there's more than enough people that understand what you're going through. So sometimes, even if it's just talking to someone about that, but I tried to do my first child by myself, and I learned by the second that there's nothing wrong with asking and receiving, and people were more than willing to do that. And it was a beautiful gift from them. You know, I kind of said, in lieu of any gifts, I would love someone to do some cleaning and laundry or meal prep or whatever it may be, right? And it became not so hard to ask, especially when people are so willing to give. So, you know, obviously you have to pick and choose who those people are. But if someone offers, that's my challenge to all of you, is find something. Like I said, even if it's a cup of coffee at work, or even just saying thank you, that's really kind. If I really will come back to you if there's something, right?
I love the
you.
positive spins you put on everything,
Mhm.
not thinking about us being embarrassed that we're accepting help, but thinking about their joy of giving it. That's great.
Okay, and then one final question: how can participants like find you and engage with you, whether online, in person?
Yeah, that's a great question. I have to look up my website because I don't have it memorized. Most of my kind of business type stuff and not personal stuff is on Instagram. So it's at Dr. Emily Jacobs. So just Dr. Emily Jacobs. And then my website is empoweredmoms.co. So empowered, EMPOWERED, moms.co. And that's where we have a lot of stuff about mom communities. And then this event, mom event we're hosting. And then what else do we have on there? Coaching opportunities, things like that.
Yeah, and tell us just quickly about the event that you're hosting.
Oh, yay.
Yeah.
So I'm hosting this is so exciting. I'm hosting my first event. Well, I say that because here's the thing. It was a thought. Everything is a thought until you put it into action, right? So even the book, I mean, the book didn't write itself overnight. It took 7 years of me thinking about it for 7 years. Thinking about it. The event has been about 3 years, and it's always been called Empowered Moms. And it's always had this feel of, I want mom-made businesses as vendors and sponsors and promoting them, right? I want to be able to promote local small businesses for moms. So it's in Michigan, Southfield, Michigan, on Sunday, October 22nd. It's 9 to 4. So it's an all-day kind of immersive experience. We're going to have lots of fun speakers, motivational, but also just raw and real. I want people to know that when they walk out of the room, like, I want people to not be scared when they walk in, which I think some people are, but also that we're all in this together. And hopefully there's connections that are made there that people really feel like there's tools for them to come back home to themselves, to feel good in their motherhood journey, and possibly dream if they're ready to like dream and take a next step. I want to provide that opportunities for them there too.
Wonderful. Well, thank you.
Mhm.
All right. So thank you to all the listeners for meeting with us this evening. And a big thank you to Emily for sharing all your knowledge on wellness, self-care, and tips on how we can bring more balance and harmony into our lives. Please go to inursecoach.com to find out more about Inca and all the programs we have to offer. You can follow us on all the social media platforms such as Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and TikTok, as well as YouTube. And always feel free to reach out with any questions that you may think of. Thanks for gathering with us, and we will see you next month for our next webinar.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Emily.
Thank
Bye.
you.